here now. Thank you all for being here, especially on an Easter morning. Happy Easter to you. Mike Dubke, I want to start with you since you were a White House communications director in Trump 1.0.
Yes.
About that, because Lisa Murkowski is no shrinking violet. I mean, she was not going to come back to the U.S. Senate, but she waged an improbable, successful race in order to get back as an independent.
Right.
And she's been around a long time. To hear her say that, it is striking.
Well, I may also be a bit of a unicorn in that I also work with Lisa Murkowski.
Oh, so I knew that.
I am maybe one of the only people in America to work with both Donald Trump
I'm glad
and
I asked you first.
Murkowski. Listen, they're both fighters, and I'm not at all surprised to hear Senator Murkowski use language like that. She is very, especially she was in Anchorage. She's very upfront with her constituents. She's going to continue to fight for Alaska.
But you're not surprised that she's afraid to use her voice because of retribution?
I will say this. She is not afraid to use her voice. In fact, I have seen interaction with her and President Trump. He respects fighters. He respects Lisa Murkowski. So I think she may be talking about other members of the Senate, but she definitely is a fighter. And she is probably worried less about retribution. And I think what she meant by that is less about retribution for herself and more about the state of Alaska. You've got to think about how you approach. She has praised President Trump when needed, and she has also held him accountable when needed.
I mean, she said what she said. She said that they're all afraid, and that means she is too. And I believe her. I think people are. I have seen people's positions change on issues. Look at Marco Rubio. He wanted to be Secretary of State. Almost every belief he has had about foreign policy is different now. Now, people can change their mind, but these are some aggressive swings. And we see big institutions that are capitulating to Donald Trump. Look, the power of the White House, the bully pulpit, the federal government is a massive hammer that can be placed on somebody's life, that can interrupt. And it's the lawsuits, it's the attacks on social media. So I don't think we should ignore the fact that even Donald Trump said he will on the campaign trail, he will do retribution.
And let's be clear, it's well beyond these lawmakers and Republicans. Yes. I mean, from law firms to universities, the Associated Press, it goes on and on.
Yeah, but I would argue, the norms are what people wanted to bust up. Donald Trump won not once but twice because he's a norm buster. And I think the voters are giving him a lot of leeway. Harry Enton talked this week about in a CNN poll, maybe 1% to 2% of Trump voters would change their vote. There's a Harvard-Harris poll out saying 62% of people think the Democrats should let Trump kind of see what he can do. So I think when it comes to busting norms, remember, faith in our institutions hovers around 20%. I think for the federal government, when it comes to universities, maybe 30%. So I think with voters, they're out there saying, yeah, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and see what he can do, because the incremental change has not been working. And I think for a lot of people, they want a hammer and not a scalpel.
Faith in our institutions is eroded because of Donald Trump.
Because he has
literally tried to convince the American people that our institutions are broken when they're not. They are broken to an extent right now because of Donald Trump, but he is the one who is.
How do you get to a 20% approval rating for the federal government? It's not because of Donald Trump.
That's because of Donald. It is because of Donald Trump.
It's been that low since the 1970s for members of Congress.
I'm not saying that Democrats
salesmen have a higher level of approval.
Okay, I'm not saying that Democrats don't have their issues too, but Donald Trump is the reason why in the MAGA institution is the reason why people have lost so much faith in our institutions. And to your point, that is why I think he thinks he can go out there and not allow Abrego Garcia to have due process, defy court orders. He is the one who is perpetuating this, and he is the reason why people are losing faith.
I also think that I agree with you. Donald Trump did win, and the American public probably is more tolerant to some of his aggressive policies. I don't like his policies, but that's what happens when you win an election. So you do Doge. You start to hopefully deport people through a due process in an actual constitutional manner. I get it, right? You do tariffs. That's what happens when you win an election. But retribution is not the same thing as a policy. Retribution is not. And so that is the difference of when people are afraid to express their free speech because they're afraid the federal government will come. That, I don't think, is what any American should
I don't
really
think
want.
they view it as retribution. And I know a lot of
She
Americans
just said
don't.
it.
Yeah, what I would say to the senator is politics ain't beanbag. This is 2025. Welcome. And by the way, I never heard anybody complaining when Nancy Pelosi ruled the House with an iron fist and members would secretly
But
go
she
to
wasn't breaking the
go,
laws.
go to.
She wasn't
I'm saying
defying
is-
court orders.
Can we all
She was
agree
following
retribution
process.
is not the way the president of the United
Well, I
States should be
understand
acting?
I will just say one thing. The ultimate retribution that we saw in the last year was Joe Biden on the Democratic Party by deciding that he was going to run for re-election. That was ultimate retribution.
How is that
Not
retribution?
retribution.
Because that's-
That
well,
is
thank
all
you.
democracy.
So
That is
that's
running for
actually
re-election
changing-
as
There's
president.
one panel member that gets that joke, but yes.
It's actually changing the definition of a word, which is what often happens when we spread mis and disinformation. Retribution is when you don't like what somebody says, and so you use the power that you have through a democratic process or an authoritative process, and you go after people with the hope that you intimidate them to stand up against you.
Well,
That is retribution.
she said
we should all
retaliation.
agree. Retaliation, retribution. Donald Trump said retribution. My
Final word,
apologies.
Adrian.
No, I mean, look, the bottom line is this. I think Lisa Murkowski, I know that you worked for her, so I don't want to sit here and put words in her mouth, but she did say what she said. She made it very clear. I think a lot of people are worried. I think a lot of people are nervous. And I think as long as the courts continue to hold up, which they are to an extent, then people will feel like Lisa Murkowski will feel like they can continue to come out and say that we are nervous and we are worried, and that will allow more people to come to coalesce and push back against Trump's divisive rhetoric and actions right now.
Happy Easter.
Did we leave you some Easter